An unnamed respiratory illness is spreading among dogs, and the cause is a mystery tonight.
Yeah, the symptoms are listed as coughing, sneezing, nasal and/or eye discharge. It's described as a long-lasting respiratory disease that can also cause pneumonia. So clearly, this is really very serious.
And the illness has been reported now in 10 states. The closest here, not that far away, Indiana and Illinois. And joining us live with some advice for dog owners is the owner of Arbor Point Veterinary Hospital in Canton, and that's Dr. Michael Petty. Dr. Petty, really appreciate your time. It's not confirmed in Michigan, as I just mentioned. It's close, so I'm wondering if the best advice is to just act and assume as though the illness is already here.
I think that's really good advice. And here's why. Because, as a general practitioner veterinarian, we see a lot of respiratory illnesses all the time. And, we don't always know. We don't have the ability to do a quick diagnosis and know it's caused by this or that.
Yeah.
And there's at least a dozen of them out there. So when a dog comes in and it's acting sick, you probably, in light of this new emerging disease, should take it very seriously.
Well, you mentioned there are, 12 of them out there, respiratory illnesses you're speaking of. How often, though, do you hear about an illness like this where it doesn't even have a name and the cause is unknown?
Right. This is pretty new. I mean, occasionally something will pop up and it turns out to be, one of our old foes that we have treated in the past. However, this is epidemiologist in New Hampshire has been looking at this for a year and has been unable to identify it. They've been having cases in Oregon since August, and no one really knows.
And doctor, this disease, I guess, can take 3 different forms. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, there's 3 forms, and luckily the most common form is this mild chronic problem that causes a cough and other respiratory signs, and it lasts for 8 weeks, give or take a little bit. The second one is a more chronic pneumonia issue, and the pneumonia just won't go away even with antibiotics. The third scariest one is a very acute, what we even call a peracute infection, where within 36 hours, dogs get pneumonia and some of them die. Luckily, this is the least common form of this disease.
Yeah. What can dog owners do to reduce the risk?
I spoke with a representative at the Michigan Department of Agriculture, and she told me, make sure the dogs are vaccinated against everything else, just in case it's some variant of something we've seen before. But also, you don't want your dog having one illness on top of another. The other thing is use common sense. This time of the year, maybe avoid going indoors with your dog to places. And, unfortunately, a lot of us have to have dog daycare during the day.
Yep.
Consider in-home daycare. And if you can't, when you go to your dog daycare place, ask them each and every time you drop the dog off, has there been any complaints of respiratory diseases? Yeah. And if there is, say, not today.
Not today, yeah. That's a really good breakdown of it. Dr. Michael Petty of Arbor Point Veterinary Hospital in Canton, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Yep, really good information.
Thank you.
You bet.